What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Tank Dell's most explosive routes from Houston Texans rookie minicamp and their OTAs. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver watching this and you want to improve your route running, your catching ability, your press releases, and would like specific drills to do so, check out that very first link in the description below for our 28-day on-field wide receiver workout plan. It's over 100 plus wide receiver drills broken down with the exact sets, reps, and drills to do with video examples of each drill. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested in that, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now this first route we're going to be looking at here from Tank Dell is him going to be running this like dig route where he's dropping his hips on a dime and he's able to get in and out of his breaks. One of the big, positives about his side of his game that everybody loves to talk about is the explosiveness he has with his cuts, how he's able to get in and out of his breaks fast, little to no wasted motion, and that's what we're going to be breaking down right now, and hopefully you can add this to your game. So on every single route leading up into the break, something that you want to try to make that DB think is you're running a fade. Everything is a fade until it's not. So from the moment that ball is snapped to the moment you guys are making a break at the top of this route, whether you're running a post route, a 5-yard hitch, this like 10 to 12-yard dig, you have to make the DB think you're going fade. You're trying to just run by him. So there's 3 specific things that will make that DB think you're trying to run by him. The first one being your speed. So you have to attack the route. That is something that so many high-level wide receiver coaches look for in their wide receivers is, do they attack their routes? Do they attack the break? Are they running hard, or right before the break point, do they start to slow themselves down because they're preparing for this moment where they got to drop their hips or put their foot in the ground and cut? And Tank Dell doesn't do that, which is what makes him a very dangerous route runner. Everything looks like he's just trying to run right by him in regards to his speed. Now, the second thing that you want to try to emphasize as a wide receiver is your stride length. I can't tell you how many wide receivers, whether that's maybe they lack leg strength, maybe they lack ankle stability, maybe they lack balance at the top of the break, that right before the break point, they'll be running great in full stride, and then before they're about to cut, they start taking these tiny choppy steps, then they drop their hips. Guys, all of those things are what lead to a DB sitting on our routes and us not getting separation. You guys have to run full speed and full stride. And then last but not least, you have to maintain a good body language position. So what do I mean by body language? I refer to this as pad level. So like literally that's exactly how it sounds. It's the level of your pads. When you guys are running a route, you want to try to get this exact same pad level that Tank Dell has. His chin is down, his chest is slightly ahead of his waist. This way, you guys can keep that DB guessing. Because if a DB, let's say, for example, is in man coverage or off man coverage, he is going to be reading your hips. That's where his eyes are supposed to be. I think every single DB coach will teach a DB in press to have their eyes on the wide receiver's hips. If your eyes are high, you're undisciplined, and you're going to get lost because all it takes is a quick little head and shoulder fake from a wide receiver. So they'll say, watch the hips. So going into the break, so many wide receivers, because they are trying to drop their hips and get low at the break point, because I think we all can agree that we need to be able to get low to decelerate and make a sharp cut when it's a route like a dig, a curl, maybe an out route in some cases, definitely a comeback. They'll raise up with their chest so they can drop down low. Like right before this break point, their chest and their chin will pop up because they're so focused on having it shoot down and slam down to get that violent drop of their hips. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But we can't have that, fellas, because as soon as your chest and your chin raises up, maybe you're reaching for the cut. And we're going to talk about that with the second route here from Tank Dell in a second. But all of that's an indicator. You change your speed, you change your stride, and you raise up with your chest and run super tall right before the break. That DB knows a break is coming. You have to be a salesman. And if you can do all those things well, that's what I personally judge a good route runner on. You look at all these guys that are at the top of their game when it comes to running routes. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, all those guys with their routes, they keep things simple, but the one concept that they have when they're pressing a route downfield is they all are selling vertical. Now, that's the easy part of things. I think every wide receiver, whether they are 7 years old or 17 years old, can get that concept down. Now, the hard part is doing that and then being able to change direction while doing it. And there's an art to it, right? So before we talk about the technique of it, I think wide receivers need to understand to get explosive breaks like this, to be able to cut on a dime, to have that violent drop of their hips. They need to take care of some things first. You need to make sure that you have strong legs. You need to make sure that you have good ankle stability. How do you get that? Doing a lot of one-legged exercises, doing a lot of leg work like squats, lunges. You have to be able to withstand the force that your body is going to take when you are trying to drop aggressively and shoot your cleats into the ground. Now, you need good mechanics, obviously, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video, but I want to make that clear. I don't suggest that a beginner wide receiver who's never ran routes before, brand new to the position, tries to run as hard as they can and plant on a dime. If you don't have the right mechanics and you do not have leg strength, ankle stability, balance, one leg stability, you're not going to be able to do that efficiently. And it probably will hurt at first because it's just a new movement to you. So you have to do the groundwork first before you get comfortable doing this. So now dropping into this break, as you can see, everybody always talks about, oh, he's very explosive, right? But what does that exactly mean? Why is he explosive with his cuts? Why doesn't he just run and just use his speed and just run around everybody? So when you're selling vertical, the hard part is, like we said, changing direction, but also making a sharp change of direction. Like if you're running a dig route, and let's say this is at 12 yards, we don't want you breaking at 12 yards and then drifting up to 14 yards because that screws up the quarterback's timing. I want you to attack 12 yards, drop your hips on a dime, and be able to get out right at 12 yards. So what do we have to do to be able to make that sharp cut? You have to get low. Now, I think every wide receiver, everybody who's ever watched football knows that you got to get low at your cuts, right? You want to try to sit your butt down. I call it you want to try to bring your chin to your knee. Chin goes to your knee. You sit your butt down quickly like you are playing musical chairs. Music stops, you got to sit down. Now, why do we do that? What's the purpose of us sitting down quickly? Why not just have a slow sink of your hips, like beat the drum with my hands and just get low? Why does it have to be violently? Because that's the only way that you're going to change direction while running full speed. So many wide receivers forget about this part. They attack the route, but then they have this slow drop of their butt. They chatter their steps at the break. They take 1,000,000 steps. They waste 1,000,000 minutes at the break, and they're not out of that thing fast. Guys, you have to drop to that same low spot that we know to get to, but it's got to happen quickly. So something I tell my wide receivers is I use the musical chairs analogy, but I also say, hey, there's a string attached to your chin. Somebody is pulling that string down. And if you could have that violent level change, you get to that low spot faster. Therefore, you will make a quicker change of direction, and you will still have that sharp cut that we were all trying to search for. That is textbook right there from Tank Dell. Now, one other thing is everybody talks about, he's got explosiveness into the breaks. He's got explosiveness out of the breaks. So how do you get that speed out of the break? Because a lot of guys will drop into this break. They'll be violent, but their hands will die. So their hands die, and that means that their feet die. They'll get stuck at the break point. Then they get out of the route. And again, you're stopping on a dime, you're putting the brakes on, but you not getting out of the break and having that quick change up and getting into that last portion of the route gives that DB time to recover. So what you have to do is you got to keep your hands active, but not too active, not to the point where it's wasted motion. You got to keep your hands natural. So you see when Tank Dell goes into this break, his hands are moving. His hands don't die, but his hands aren't super unnatural. He's not having his hands briefcase it and drop down by his waist. He's not beating the drum, as I like to call it. Something a lot of old school wide receiver coaches used to teach was that beat the drum method, where it's, hey, you're going to play the drum with your hands. That just creates wasted motion with your feet. Why not keep my arms natural? Why not run in and then run out of this thing so I don't lose any time and I don't take any extra steps that I don't need? That is textbook right there from Dell. That's why so many people are so high on this guy, because of his ability to change direction. But his ability to change direction on a dime, not lose any speed out of the break, and sell vertical all the way up into that route. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. This is a great job here by Dell, dropping those hips, having that explosive cut, and getting in and out of this route. So now the next route I want to cover here is this kind of speed cut 5-yard out that he runs. So a lot of times you get slot wide receivers, faster wide receivers, you guys are going to be asked to run like speed cut routes. So whether that's like a 10-yard out route where you speed cut it, 5-yard out route where maybe you break it 5, you drift up to 6, maybe you break it 8, you drift up to 10. And it's not so much a drift, it's more of like a speed cut, like a round, you know what I mean? So I want to talk to you about why this cut is so smooth from him and how you could tell that this type of cut will translate 10, 12 yards downfield. So again, this is a simple route, but I want to talk about, again, the mechanics of the cut, because the mechanics of the cut is what will translate 15 yards downfield. So many times, like you guys have probably all heard, Devontae Adams go on that spiel in the offseason about how wide receivers shouldn't do drills for social media. They should train by running routes, right? Now, He later clarified that and said that you want to do realistic drills. You don't want to be doing drills that are pointless, that are stupid. And that's how wide receivers should train. And it should be translated in every single movement you do. So if you're doing a cutting drill, the cut that you are practicing should not just be for a 5-yard situation. It should be for a situation where that cut can translate 10, 15 yards downfield. So watch this cut right here and you tell me if you don't think it would translate. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off, nice smooth cut, in and out of the break with some speed. And you know that's going to be a route that they're going to utilize even further downfield with his type of speed and his type of movement. So when he goes to make this cut, anytime wide receivers are planting off of one foot, there are a couple things that you want to be mindful of. Number one, that's going to be your foot strike. So to be able to generate speed, like let's say you're racing somebody, right? If you're racing somebody and you're trying to run faster than them, where do you think you're going to be stepping on with your foot? Are you going to be stepping on your heels or are you going to be on the ball of your foot? What's a more athletic spot? Obviously the ball of your foot. You're not going to be running on your heels because you're not going to be able to get your knees up and you're not going to be able to drive off of that stride. So same thing when you make a cut at the top of the route, whether you're dropping your hips down or whether you're making a single speed cut, you never want to reach and strike on your heels. A lot of times because wide receivers don't have that leg strength, the ankle stability, the balance to be able to cut like this, they will reach outside of their frame and strike the ground heel then toe. Their foot will almost slap down on the ground. Now, when you're moving with a lot of speed, not only does that put pressure on your knee, and if you look back and you look at all the times Odell has injured his knee, watch how his foot strikes the ground. It is heel toe, his toe slaps, his leg extends, and that puts pressure on the knee. Not only will it lead to injury, but when you're on your heel and your leg extends, you can't drive off of the cut. You can't get any speed out of the cut, and that will make you lose separation. So fellas, when you guys strike on the ball of your foot, it's okay if your whole foot hits the ground, but the first part of the foot needs to be the ball. So now when you're in this position on the ball of your foot, that cut stays inside of your shoulder frame. You're not reaching. You can actually push and drive off of the cut. So your next step can be out of it, hips can turn out of it, and we could accelerate to get some separation from this DB. So fellas, whenever you're making that speed cut, you want to think, we want to be on the ball of my foot. And some of you, when you guys try this, are going to feel like this cut is very weak. Like you don't have much explosion. You don't have much power. You don't have much balance. Shoot that foot into the ground as hard as you can. As long as you have the right mechanics, it is not going to put pressure on your knee. Now, if you're stepping as hard as you can on your heel, yeah, that's going to hurt you. But if you step on the ball of your foot and you step as hard as you can, you shoot that foot into the ground, that's going to give you some control, and that explosion will turn into energy if you push off of it. So we don't want to just cut to cut. We want to cut to push. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Very smooth in and out of that break from Dell to be able to create separation on that out route. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a full 4-month wide receiver, or 1 month, 4-week on-field wide receiver workout plan, everything wide receivers should be doing on the field to improve their game, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.